Welcome our colleagues with Berkeley City College, College of Alameda, Merritt College, as well as the communities of Alameda, Berkeley, the greater Oakland community, and all whom we serve. This is truly a great day, and I also extend the welcome to our community members, our civic leaders, our colleagues here at Laney, and throughout Peralta, and especially our students. It is really my pleasure to welcome you all this morning to this charrette, this conversation about the future. Certainly this week, as our elections have taken place, we've looked at tomorrow. But today's gathering is not about tomorrow. It's about the next several years, not only with the 4 colleges in our district, but our communities as a whole. So as you enter into discussions today, and as you hear the data presented, don't just think of yourselves as attendees or guests on our campus. Think of yourselves as builders and designers of tomorrow, because that's why we invited you. This is also a special week because it is one in which we will pause, especially tomorrow, to thank and appreciate our veterans who have served. And as the president of Laney College, I would like to thank all in attendance today for their service as well. Chief on that list is someone who goes by retired colonel for her service to our country, and our chancellor, Dr. Jeanette Jackson. Please join me in welcoming her.
Thank you, Dr. Besikoff. Those of you that know Rudy know that I told him, make this short. Don't have a long. I said, because I brought my shepherd's staff with me, and if I have to, I'll pull you off the stage, but didn't have to do that. Thank you, Rudy, for that warm welcome, and thank all of you for being here. We will probably be having people come in and out today, but we wanted to start as much on time as possible because we have a really tight schedule. And it really is for us to get information from you. As Rudy said, this is our strategic master plan for the district, and the colleges have been working on their educational master plans for the last 18 months. So I'm going to just briefly jump into some things that have been happening to share with you some of the successes, and I will get going. I think I can do it myself, so I'll do that. The first thing is our bond. We just finished, in fact, I was told we just received the money in the bank today. We've been working diligently on having the second issuance of our general obligation bonds under Measure G. So we got out at the right time. We were able to hit the market and get a very good interest rate, under 5%. And as you know, if you've been watching the market, it's somewhere around 7 now. So all of that is good news for us. And with that money and with those second issuance of bonds under Measure G, we're going to be able to continue with the Milvia Street building at Berkeley City College. That's an expansion for BCC. Kind of diagonally, they're calling it Berkeley West, BCC West. Merritt College's horticulture program is going to move forward, as well as their child development center, which is woefully in need of modernization. College of Alameda, our automotive and diesel mechanics program, will be getting a new building, as well as the aviation maintenance building over by the airport, which, if you've ever passed by there, and I do that when I come into California and stay in Alameda, is woefully in need of modernization. Laney College, the long-anticipated library and learning resources center. When I was here in 2004, we were talking about that, so it's a long time coming, and we're moving forward with that. We had a little starts and stops because of earthquake and making sure we weren't on a fault line, but we are moving forward. And all of that is to make sure that we provide not only to our students, but to our community, the state-of-the-art buildings with technology, and to create a learning environment that is conducive, because it does make a difference when you're sitting in a classroom and it's cold or it's leaking or the air conditioning isn't working. And so we are moving forward with all of those projects, and we're doing that because of you. So please give yourself a round of applause. If it wasn't for you passing Measure G, we wouldn't be here. So thank you. The other thing that we've been working on that is a success is really trying to build a solid financial footing. We've had some progress on a lot of things in the newspaper about troubled Peralta for the last several years, but I can tell you we have been working diligently, not just the administration, but the faculty and our classified professionals to make sure that we're on solid footing for the future. There is going to be some changes in funding with what we call the student-centered funding model, which is different than what we've been funded on. We previously were funded based upon full-time equivalent students, and we had like census dates, and how many students were in the seats on census date determined how much money we would get from the state. What the state is doing with the SCIF funding is they're saying, we want success. We don't just want, and people have heard me say this, butts in the seats. We want to make sure that those students that come to your institutions achieve their goals, that are retained, that can get their certificates and their degrees and transfer. And that is what the SCIF program is all about. And so we've been working to make sure that we prepare ourselves for that change in funding so that we don't miss a beat and we continue. We've changed health plans. One of the things that we found is that our staff, and I say that in the broadest sense, administrators, faculty, and classified professionals, were underpaid compared to the other Bay 10 colleges in the region, significantly under. So with the refinancing of our health plans, going from a self-insured to going with a larger organization, we anticipate that we will see a savings of about $5 million. And those savings will go back to our staff in the form of increased base salaries. And also the benefits will not change. In fact, in some cases, they will be enhanced. So again, great, because you have to have ongoing funding to be able to ensure salaries. It cannot be just a one-time dollar. And then the state has said in the past that, you know, yeah, it's going to continue in perpetuity, and we know that, those of us that have been here more than 15 years, that always changes. So really concerned about that. And we used our COVID dollars to do things for our students as well as for our facilities, because frankly, we haven't been here for about 2 years, so we had to do a lot to do that. Spring is free. We use that as a campaign, and we're also finishing up with fall is free. And we're in double digits in terms of improving our FTES goals for this fall semester. So we're continuing that. Accreditation. Accreditation. That has been looming over our head probably for the last 5 years. We went from being on probation, and the next step in probation, after probation, if you don't make significant strides, is show cause. Some of our sister institutions have done that, specifically San Francisco and Compton, and trust me, we did not want to go there. It took 15 years for Compton to come from show cause to being fully accredited. So we have made significant progress. We went from probation to warning. And we anticipate, given all of the work that most of you out there that are staff members have done, we will probably be recommended to be without sanctions coming up in January of 2023. That is huge, folks. That is absolutely huge. So with that, these are going to be the small group topics. And those topics came from work that happened at the colleges. You get to choose 2 of those. We're going to rotate them. And the names are going to be on the door, so you'll know. And before I leave this slide, I want to talk about who's going to be doing those. Dr. Rudy Besikoff is the president of Laney College, which you already met. He's going to be in session number 1. Rudy, raise your hand, just because we've had new people come in. Growing strategies in workforce, that's going to be done by Dr. Diana Barami, and Dr. Barami is the president, acting president at College of Alameda. And then we have strengthening K-16 partnerships. That is going to be led by Dr. Angelica Garcia, the president at Berkeley City College. And then the last one, improving community and campus public safety, will be led by Dr. David Johnson, who is the president at Merritt College. So thank all of you. I heard somebody trying to clap, so let's give a clap for all of them. And I wanted Dr. Garcia to please come forward because I wanted her to represent all of the presidents, because all of them have been involved in this in the last 18 months. This is the culmination, not the beginning, of the planning process that we've had at the colleges. With that, I'll turn it over to Dr. I didn't have my cue cards. Dr. Garcia, and here's the slide presenter.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Buenos días, colegas, and community members. As Dr. Jackson just shared, I get the privilege to just speak on behalf of the college president. So please know that everything that I'm about to share is just a snapshot, very quickly, of the process of engaging faculty, classified professionals, administrators, students, and community members in this process. And so for many of you, you might feel like we were at the beginning of this, but that's not the case. You are coming in right at the time where we are trying to figure out that we're on the right track for how to serve our community. So one of the things about institutional planning is this notion of, what do we want the colleges, what does the community need for the colleges to look like for the next 5 years and beyond? And at Berkeley City College, we took a broader approach in really thinking about challenging ourselves. Certainly the pandemic and COVID and the ways that we had to adjust very quickly taught us that we can in fact move quickly in higher education, contrary to what our experience previously had taught us. And so this particular quote by Albert Einstein just really grounded in the sense of, let's be bold and let's ask ourselves some really tough questions. So there were 2 guiding questions at Berkeley City College that was part of our educational master plan. The first one is, what would it look like for Berkeley City College to contribute to ending generational poverty in our local community? We're seeing more and more of our students and their families and their communities being born here, but for many reasons not being able to live here, not being able to find a living wage job. The second is, what would it look like for Berkeley City College to reverse the impact of gentrification? Big topics for the local community so that generations to come can live here. And the way that we thought about this was, students should be able to be community members born here, receive a quality public education in our local community, have an opportunity to get a job or transfer pathway that leads them to a living wage job that then allows them to remain in the community. So this notion of keeping cultural assets, community assets here. And so mind you, our educational master plan, like all the other colleges, we're talking about success rates and closing gaps and running fiscally sound colleges and developing faculty and staff and administrators. All of that is there, but how are we grounding this in the bigger question for our community, especially as community colleges? And so this particular image is but a snapshot, and trust me, if you go on all 4 of the college websites, you're gonna see a lot more detail. But for the broader community members, our educational master plan becomes this blueprint, or as I like to say at Berkeley City College, the teal print of what it is that all of our planning will link to. So from this will come our college strategic plan, where we will set measurable goals and objectives. From this will also inform our technology plan, facilities plan, student equity plan, distance education. So all of our planning rolls up into this blueprint of the educational master plan. And how it's connected to the state level is, as part of the California community colleges, we are all under this aspect of serving the vision for success, where at the state level, there are major goals about how to improve workforce placement, how to improve transfer, increase the numbers of historically minoritized students who are not achieving, who are not getting access to achieve completion rates. So all of this rolls up. So it's the college, to the district, board goals and strategic plan, to the state. So that is how we are part of this bigger system. What I also want to share is, at the college level, we do comprehensive program reviews and annual program updates. That is when we're diving into the data. Faculty are diving into the data of how students are doing in their classes. They're coming up with plans about what they need to do as departments. programs and services are really thinking, how do we make sure that we are serving the students of today and not the students of when our colleges first became institutions? And so with all of that, Dr. Jackson shared about the student-centered funding formula metrics. That's a new component, so our apportionment is going to be directly tied to our ability to serve students differently. And so as the colleges, we are focused on that. Now, in closing for this, each of the 4 colleges have a group of sort that is helping to manage or steer this work. At Berkeley City College, we have an Educational Master Plan Steering Committee. And on that committee, we have an appointment from faculty, from classified professionals, students, administrators. And that group meets every other week to make sure that we are staying on target. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that we have some of our EMP steering committee members that are here. So I'm grateful to our faculty members, especially for coming. I hear maybe not going to a department meeting, so they could be here with us. So thank you very much for that. And lastly, our partners. Each and every one of you. So as you go into these breakout sessions, these topics, this is where we want to hear from you. Are we on the right track? What do we need to learn from you as our partners in this work, as our collaborators? And so part of what we did as a district was to work with our partners at West Ed to help us get the data. And so these were not just conversations. These were grounded in the environmental scan data that had to do with what is happening in our local community. So with that, I would like to introduce our colleague, Kelsey Crossan from West Ed.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kelsey Crossan. I'm a senior manager at West Ed. Was born in Oakland. I'm raising my kids here, attended Oakland Public Schools, went to Laney and Merritt. So I can say from me and from all of our team, we are deeply committed to the success of the Peralta colleges and to the students here. And I just want to underscore that we see this process is all about better serving students across the colleges. So we have the great privilege of working with these 4 exceptional college presidents as well as the district office. And as Dr. Garcia said, a major and important component of our work is helping to gather data and input into this process. And so your input today is critical to informing the district and college's roadmap for the next 5 years, and to help them create educational master plans that are equitable, that are student-centered, and that are data-driven, grounded in the data. So in addition to the input from all of you and input that the colleges are also gathering through focus groups and other means, we also put together an environmental scan to help you get a sense of some of the trends in demographics and educational attainment in our community and within the Peralta Community College system. So with that, I'm going to invite my colleague up, Dr. Gonzalez-Wright, to share some of those data with you as to set a foundation for our conversations later today. So thank you very much, and Dr. Gonzalez-Wright.
Thank you, Dr. Crossan. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. Good morning, and thank you for being engaged in this essential stakeholder process. Community colleges are public institutes, and as such, they are afforded by the local constituency. And to that end, Peralta Community College District is dedicated to ensuring that programs, academic programs and services are reflective of community needs for economic mobility and prosperity, and furthermore, economic needs to achieve that. So today, as we've already heard with Dr. Garcia and Dr. Crossan, any good decision-making process must be grounded in data. So we're going to look at 3 sections of data right now, just briefly. I promise not to bore you, and we'll get into the good engagement here in a little bit, regarding demographic and socioeconomic indicators, economic and labor market indicators, and some institutional data that will hopefully set the stage for your conversations the remainder of this morning. So the first section are demographics, right, and socioeconomic data. Who's living and working in Alameda County? So we must always start with population. I know this is this generic indicator that we always see, but the purpose is very intentful, right? We want to ensure that when we look at the other data elements, that we're comparing it against the proportionality of our population. So as you can see here, and all of you who live here, very diverse county. But that diversity is concentrated in different areas of the county, whether you're looking at Fremont, whether you're looking at Oakland. But overall, we see a general diversity right across this county, which is such a blessing. So many communities do not have this type of diversity. And what does diversity lead to? It leads to ingenuity, it leads to innovation, and it leads to all sorts of entrepreneurial spirit. So keep this population count in mind, and we're going to show you this population against a couple other highlighted data elements here. So next we want to look at education by race and ethnicity. And as you look at this graph, you can notice at the bottom is our high school equivalency and high school diplomas, right? So those are the largest sections. But just to highlight a couple of things, for 61% of the white and Asian communities in Alameda County, a bachelor's degree or higher is their highest level of education, versus 23% of our Latinx community and 30% of our Black and African American community. And as we all know, because this room is full of educators, educational attainment is the #1 indicator for how much wealth you are going to earn in a lifetime. So it's an exceedingly important element of this. This can help further target specific populations. We've added, again, multiple data elements to this environmental scan. You're not going to see all of them today, but some of those are heat maps to understand where populations are living under certain economic circumstances and where certain racial groups are living as well. So this next chart is one of my favorites. And I know that there's a lot to look at here, but let's just walk through it very briefly. This is showing us population against share of the unemployed population in Alameda County against poverty level. So looking at the intersectionality of these 3 data points can furthermore help us identify where those equity gaps are. So on the left-hand side here, you see your population percentage. So going back, right, to our population chart, you'll see that reflected right here in the dark blue bars, okay? The green bars are the share by race and ethnicity of all of those who have said they are unemployed, according to our U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics unemployment surveys that go out every single month. So current unemployment rate in Alameda County, as of the jobs report on Friday, is 2.9%. 2.9%. This is an incredible time for the laborer in the marketplace right now. I'm sure most of us have never seen this type of power from the worker. But that said, when you start to look at the unemployment share by race, you start to notice that disproportionate impact, particularly for our Hispanic and Latino populations and our Black populations and African American. I also want to make a special note, considering that this is American Indian Heritage Month. So American Indians comprise about 2% of our nationwide population. And as such, we rarely get a good sample size out of our Bureau of Labor Statistics population surveys. However, under the guidance of the Minneapolis Federal Reserve and the Center for Indian Country Development, they've established a methodology by which they are now aggregating 3 months at a time to get a decent sample size so we actually understand what's happening with our American Indian and Native Alaskan communities. So to that end, they now have something which the Bureau of Labor Statistics has formally said is valid and sound practice. We now can understand, at least on an aggregate level, what's going on with American Indian communities in our urban areas versus our rural areas. So right there you'll see it's about 4.8% of the share of unemployed for American Indian populations in the metro areas and about 5.8% in the rural areas, which is somewhat better than historical trends, again, that we really didn't know what was going on with those communities. So the line you see there is the poverty level line. And again, notice the disproportionate impact with our Black and African American communities and our Hispanic and Latino communities, compared to the proportion of the population. That's really our basis for comparison here. So now let's move into the economic data in Alameda County. Let's first look at what's going on with our industry sectors. Clearly, everybody keeps getting older in this county, right? So we're going to have healthcare and that demand for healthcare throughout the ages. So those pathways are going to be instrumental. And they happen to be high-quality jobs, living wage jobs, right? And it's not just everybody has to go become a nurse. People can go into technician. People can go into healthcare administration, right? There's multiple pathways. People can go into entrepreneurship and residential care facilities after they come out of their CNA programs or HHA programs, right? And they decide, you know what, I'm not really into the muck and guck of bedside care, but I'm really interested in helping people, and this is the way I'm gonna do it. So as you can see here, the numbers you see are the quantity of employed according to 2021 data out of Bureau of Labor Statistics, okay? You see quite a bit of manufacturing there as well. Manufacturing, again, has those high-quality jobs and quick movement up the ladder. Both healthcare and manufacturing certainly have entry-level jobs that are not quite living wage, but the unique thing about those industry sectors is there's such high demand that those employees move quickly up the ladder to living wage opportunity. I wanted to make one more note here. Outside of government, and you know, somebody who studies labor economics, I used to say, oh, government, that's public sector, why even concern yourself about it? Well, clearly, in the modern era, we must concern ourselves with ensuring that our public administrators and public managers have a proper education and are trained across multiple disciplines, right? I'm gonna make one more mention here. The other services sector, right there in the middle, just under 40,000. I know that looks a little odd. These names, these categories come from the federal government, and as we know, federal government economists don't always think about the way we speak. But that other services sector, that is signaling entrepreneurship. Those are your dog grooming stores, your dry cleaners, right? Your small mom and pops. So you have a large percentage. I looked at the number of firms in Alameda County with under 20 employees, and over 87% across Alameda County, your firms have under 20 employees. That's signaling the need and the demand for entrepreneurial education that, again, can flow across all disciplines and become a much more holistic education, right, for the modern student. I myself teach, and I know at least over half of my students are probably going to end up owning their own small business one day. So then we look at the most frequently posted skills. This can help us start to cross-reference what those high demand skills are, right? And underneath those, the numbers that you're seeing are indicating the frequency with which those skills are posted, okay? And this is 1 year's time, 2021 to 2022, okay? And what you'll see is really there's a commonality. And I'll tell you, I see this across the nation when I run these numbers. Verbal and written communication, digital literacy, and management and operation skills. Those are your transferable skills across all industry sectors that really, in regard to both general education and career education, these skills can be contextualized to your local economic needs, those local industries, right? And a key strategy for ensuring equity is to make sure that those students can articulate those skills. Not all of us were born with the privilege of parents that help us learn how to articulate ourselves and learn how to speak based on what our skills are. Some of us comes from cultures where it's actually not even approved to boast oneself. So this is really an essential form or an essential element of filling those equity gaps. Now, these next three slides, we're going to look at top occupations in 3 different formats. But first, we want to always start with what our living wage is. So this comes from MIT's Living Wage Calculator, as well as the California Insight Center. You can see slight differentiations, 2426 for County of Alameda, according to MIT, 2066 according to the California Insight Center. This is for one adult with no children. And I will make this note, the MIT calculator is likely a little higher because in the recent months, they actually went back and adjusted for inflation. That big pain that we're all dealing with right now. So as we move through looking at the jobs, those high demand jobs, we want to ensure that those jobs have a living wage, that they're high quality jobs with movement up the ladder. As you can see here, these are the largest jobs requiring some college or an associate degree, just the largest jobs. Your top jobs there, top growing projected jobs over the next 5 years, Of course, in healthcare, your medical assistants, nursing assistants, your LVNs. But note, there's a lot of other jobs up there, right? And again, when it comes to something like manufacturing, 30% of all manufacturing jobs are back office staff. Right? Healthcare jobs, not everybody's on the floor. There's a lot of those administrative jobs. So again, the arts and humanities majors, they're perfectly, and we've seen through census data over the decades, that they end up in positions like these sometimes, administrative positions. Now let's go to the next one. These are the highest paying jobs requiring some college or an associate's, right? And we're all here not to just get anybody any old job. We're here to make sure that these students get high quality jobs that are going to contribute to economic mobility and ultimate prosperity across Alameda County. And again here, you see a lot of healthcare jobs. Those are all growing the fastest again, if we could just stop time and quit aging. But we're all going to keep aging, so that's why we're always going to see the fastest growth in those healthcare jobs. But do notice there's a lot of supervision jobs, there's court jobs, the electrical repairers, right, and those electrical technician jobs, as well as getting down into your ports, right? And the ports are such a big part of this local economy. So focusing on these jobs and seeing where they fit in your meta majors, in your pathways, is essential to building out those really meaningful pathways for students that's going to lead them to a career. This last slide are the largest quantity of jobs requiring a bachelor's degree. So again, if you put it all together, the largest quantity of jobs requiring some college or associates, plus the highest paying jobs requiring college or associate's degree, plus the largest jobs requiring a bachelor's, now we can see the delineation, right? We can see the pathway forming for our students. And we want to ensure, hearkening back to that educational attainment slide, that we're addressing the disproportional impact, particularly among our Latinx and Black and African American communities. Now let's skip over to institutional data. And we'll just run through this really fast. We want to look at enrollment trends by race and ethnicity, right? Why are we looking at this? Because we're hearkening back to that educational attainment slide, ensuring that we have proportional impact across all race and ethnicity. And if we don't, we need to provide the services and that student-centered design to meet those students where they're at. And a lot of them are adult learners in the modern era. Who's transferring? Again, this is reflective of that educational attainment slide that we saw earlier, right? We have some really good transfer rates going on. Some colleges are performing better than other colleges based on racial proportionality, right? You see Merritt there doing a bit more. And then you can look across and you can see where you want to target your strategy. So again, as you walk into these stakeholder engagements in the next couple of hours, you want to make sure to be mindful of this, right? Where are those target populations and where do you have to emphasize that retention and that persistence to ensure that students know they're getting an ROI for this education and that it's going to behoove them to move on and move upward into those bachelor's degrees. And finally, let's just take a quick little look at our adult learners. So this is looking at all of Alameda County and the Northern Alameda County Adult Ed Consortium and what type of students are transferring to either the dark blue bar, CTE, the green bar, a non-developmental credit course, and we all know that that's at the front of our minds right now because those students sitting in those developmental courses, we know have a historical track record of taking forever to get out of college, right? 6 years at minimum, if ever. And then finally, the light blue bar or the more bright blue bar, transitioning in general to post-secondary. We can see here our Black and African American population, something's going on really well for them, right? Proportionally, they're getting the highest transition rates out of our adult schools into the community college system here in Alameda County. However, again, our Hispanic and Latino populations, not so much. So something's going on there, which can be addressed by services. And finally, this is just, in terms of building that enrollment pipeline, what adult schools in the entire East Bay macro region are doing the best job at transitioning those students into community college. And you can see here, Berkeley Adult School's doing great, Laney College is doing very well, Fremont Unified School District, Berkeley City College, and Mount Diablo Unified School District. So again, just a little bit of information to assist you in your conversations over the next couple of hours. And we certainly hope that this has been helpful for you. Please do feel free to come up to any one of us. Please raise your hands right now, ladies. We have a bunch of people here to assist you and that can help you out with this data and understanding if there's been any other questions in your mind. And again, thank you so much for being part of this essential process.
Okay, I have been told that we have some very important individuals, although all of you are important, that I want to recognize, and I don't have a list of those individuals. I recognize a few of them. I see one of our newest trustees sitting in the middle of the stage, or middle of the audience. Louis, stand up. Louis was elected and will be sitting, and for those of you, especially at Laney College and those in the community, especially in the career education field, Louis has been an advocate as long as I've known him. In fact, when I first got here, he was instrumental in pushing an anti-bullying, I think, administrative procedure and board policy, so glad to welcome you on board. I was also told that, did we have someone from the mayor's office that was here? I thought that.
David Silver from the mayor. David Silver, Education Director.
Can you please stand? All I see are blurry faces out there because of the lighting up here. So if you would stand up and kind of yell out, or Rudy, if you could help me. I thought David was here. Okay, he must have stepped out. Is there anyone here representing an elected official or one of our partners, OUSD? I know we had a lot of people that RSVP'd, and please stand up and introduce yourselves. Gary, oh my goodness. Those of you, Gary's been from K-16. So Dr. Yee, thank you. It's good to see you. I can't see you, but I know you stood up. So welcome, Gary. Thank you for joining the conversation. Is there anyone else I don't want to, please? Thank you. Our K-12 partners. Again, I don't want to miss anyone. UC Berkeley? Thank you. I know we have a lot of staff here. We have students here. Is there someone else?
Hi, I'm Rana Solinger. I'm a K-12 pathway coordinator from Bay Area Community College.
Thank you. Our partners, absolutely. I'm sorry? Oh, is Trustee Ewan here? Thank you, Trustee Ewan, for being here. I know you were kind of out. And who else? Oh, Trustee Napola Bellaris. Thank you for being here also. And congratulations. Our board president was reelected during this past November 8th. So congratulations, Cindy.
Very key partner with dual enrollment, Leslie Sue is here as well.
Leslie? See, if you don't stand up, we're going to call you out anyway. So is there anyone else? I want to thank, oh, I see a hand back there. Thank you. Thank you. I want to close this. We are, oh, did I miss someone? Oh, in the back. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Oakland Promise. Anyone else? I don't want to forget. I think I see a hand at the very back. Thank you. Thank you all.
Hi, I'm Dr. Matthew Espinosa, Director for Equity, Achievement, and Belonging in Berkeley Unified.
Thank you so much. Like I said, if you don't introduce you, if my staff up here does so or says, please.
Good morning. Julia Magana, the Executive Director of the Western Congress, and here with the board chair, Luis Mathis.
Thank you. Anyone else? Don't be shy. Thank you, Berkeley Community Scholars. Thank you. Have you noticed something? We're K-16. It's not just community colleges. It's not just K-12. It's not just the UCs and the CSUs. It's a pipeline. That's what we're trying to do. We're kind of in the middle for those students who may not want to transfer but want career skills, who want to come on and maybe enhance what they're doing so they can get a better job in what they're doing right now. Talking about what Wested said, those soft skills that it doesn't matter what profession you go into, you still need. So today, relax. We're going to feed you. We already started. And think about what you want for lunch, because we're only going to have like about 45 minutes for lunch. But we really want you to open up. We want to hear your ideals, your ideas. We want to make sure that we capture that. We want to make sure that you give us your email, because when we pull all of this together, we're going to send it back out to say, did we capture everything you said? Part of qualitative research, those of you. We want to triangulate. And even those individuals that aren't here today, we'll send it out to them too, because they have a voice. We want to make sure, as we develop our strategic plan, we want to be the community, because that's in our name, community colleges. We don't want to just be a college in the community, as someone said. We want to be the community, and we represent all of us, all of what's good within this region. We have our challenges, but I do believe working together, it takes a family, and we have everyone here today to be able to capture that and to move this district forward. That is my goal. When the board hired me, they gave me certain things they wanted me to do. Address accreditation. It's looking good, folks. It's looking really, really good. Get our finances in order and get ready for SCIF. We're working on it. It's hard work. Not everybody agrees, but we try to keep it on a professional level and address the issue, not the people. We're also looking at modernization. We just passed a major bond, an issuance, $150 million. That is going to bode well for this district in the future. And we just got the check. So the check's in the bank. It's not in the mail. We got the check today. So a lot of successes. But with those successes come a responsibility. So that is what today is about. Getting information from you. How do you see the Peralta colleges represented by our 4 presidents here? How do you see them in the next 3 to 5 to 7 years? What do you want us to focus on as a district, as a support center to those colleges? So today, please be present. I was working on my phone trying to get the names of individuals that were here so I could recognize people, and I just said, forget it. Let me just asked people to stand up and introduce themselves. So it wasn't that I wasn't paying attention, Wes did. I've seen the presentation, so I knew a lot of things you were doing. But I just wanted everybody to be present today. And we have 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. One of the things that you saw on the slide is we do this for you. Students are always at the center of every decision that I make. And some of those decisions are not easy. So I just want you to know that. You're right, students are underrepresented. And when people say, how come? I said, because students are here to go to school. They're not here to sit on meetings. They're here to get an education. They're here to get a certificate or a degree or to transfer. But please, speak up in the sessions that you go from the students' view. We do have students that are on the mailing list, so we will be sending that out. And all of the information that we presented today is going to be on the Charette webpage. So the slides that you saw are going to be out there. The presentations that we made will be out there. The data. We also have our annual report, which is something that we haven't done in a long time. It is out there on the webpage. And you can see a lot of the successes that I just kind of hit over generally are there in more detail. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to President Besikoff, and we're getting ready. You have 2 minutes, Rudy, because we're going to leave and head over to the breakout sessions.
I only need 2, Chancellor.
Okay.
So just in closing out today, a couple housekeeping items. First, an acknowledgement, and then secondly, an ask. The acknowledgement is this, not for weeks, but for months. Colleagues here at Laney and across our district in facilities, IT, food services, a number of areas on our campus have worked tons of hours to put today's event together. I would just like to stop a moment and appreciate all of them.